The rain had started around midnight. Soft at first, like whispers on the windowpane, but by the time Aaron reached the old inn on the hill, it had turned into a furious downpour. He stood at the entrance, drenched, suitcase in one hand, the other hesitating at the rusted doorknob. He had driven for miles, through forests and winding roads, his GPS failing hours ago. This inn was the only sign of life he had seen all night. It looked abandoned, yet a faint light flickered inside. He needed shelter, and logic told him that anything was better than the storm outside. But something deep in his chest, an ancient instinct, warned him otherwise. The door creaked open before he could knock. An old woman stood there, her face wrinkled like dried leaves, but her eyes sharp and alert. "You're late," she said simply, then turned and walked inside. Confused, Aaron followed. The lobby was dimly lit with candles, the air heavy with the scent of mold and something sweet, almost like rotting fruit. Behind the counter, an ancient register rested, untouched for decades. "Room 13, the woman said without asking for his name. "Last one on the left." She handed him a rusty key and vanished behind a thick curtain without another word. The hallway stretched longer than it should have, the wooden floor groaning under Aaron's steps. The wallpaper peeled in strips, revealing dark stains underneath. As he passed each door, he noticed they were all shut tight, and something told him they hadn't been opened in years. Room 13 sat at the end, just as she said. The number hung sideways, one screw missing. When he entered, a wave of cold hit him. Not just chilly, cold, as if the room hadn't known warmth in decades. The bed was neatly made, but the sheets looked brittle. A dusty mirror hung crooked above a dresser, and in the corner stood an old armchair facing the window. Aaron placed his suitcase down and sat on the bed. It creaked like it was protesting his presence. He pulled out his phone, still no signal. He tried to ignore the creeping sense of unease crawling up his spine. Maybe it was just the storm, or maybe the way the shadows in the room seemed to move ever so slightly when he wasn't looking directly at them. Hours passed. The storm outside raged on, wind howling like a beast circling prey. Aaron lay staring at the ceiling, sleep refusing to come. Then he heard it, soft, deliberate footsteps outside his door. They stopped. A long pause followed. Then, 3 slow knocks. He froze. His heart thundered. Maybe it's the old woman, he thought, but something told him she was not the kind to knock. That he crept toward the door, every step a war against the voice in his head begging him not to. He pressed his ear to the wood. Silence. No breathing, no movement. Just silence, thick and suffocating. He unlocked the door slowly and pulled it open. The hallway was empty. But at the foot of the door lay a note. Just one word, scrawled in shaky handwriting, *, leave. *. His throat tightened. He spun around. The mirror above the dresser was fogged up. As if someone had breathed on it. He hadn't touched it all night. Slowly, letters began to form in the condensation, as though an invisible finger were writing from the other side. *, you should have listened. *. Aaron stumbled back, knocking over the armchair. The window behind it was now wide open, rain pouring in, though he swore it had been locked. He rushed over to shut it, but froze mid-step. A face stared at him from the glass, pale, with hollow eyes and a mouth stretched too wide. It vanished the moment he blinked. The window slammed shut on its own. He ran for the door, only to find it wouldn't budge. The lock clicked shut by itself. Panic now fully bloomed. The walls began to groan, not like wood shifting, but like voices rising from inside them. A whisper here, a name there, his name. Aaron. Aaron. The mirror cracked. Then shattered. Shards flew across the room, one slicing his cheek. Blood trickled down, warm against the cold air. Suddenly, the lights, the ones he hadn't even noticed turning on, began to flicker. The dresser drawer slid open by itself. Inside was an old photograph, yellowed with age. He pulled it out, hands trembling. It was a picture of room 13. And in it, standing by the window, was him. Same jacket, same expression of confusion and fear. But the date on the back read, August 6, 1965. Exactly 60 years ago to the day. "No," he whispered. "This can't be happening." But it was. The whispers became wails. The walls pulsed like breathing skin. The bed levitated for a moment, then crashed down. The armchair spun violently, and in the mirror's broken reflection, he saw them, dozens of pale faces, eyeless, mouths agape, all screaming in silence. Trapped. Lost. The door finally burst open, but the hallway beyond had changed. No longer wooden and dusty, it now looked like a corridor of an asylum, white tiles stained red, flickering fluorescent lights, and the sound of something wet being dragged just around the corner. He stepped back, heart racing. But behind him, the room was collapsing into darkness. Not just shadows, a void, like the world itself was unraveling. Then, from the blackness, a voice whispered, "You were warned." A hand reached out from the floor, skeletal and twitching. Another grabbed his ankle. Aaron screamed and pulled away, running into the hallway. The corridor twisted, stretching impossibly, and no matter how far he ran, room 13 was always just a few steps behind him. He finally collapsed near a door labeled exit. With all his strength, he pushed it open and was met with blinding daylight. The storm was gone. The inn vanished. He was standing in the middle of the forest, his car parked nearby. Drenched, bleeding, shaking, he staggered into the vehicle and drove, never once looking back. Days later, he returned with the police. But the hill where the inn stood was empty. No building, no signs of life, just overgrown grass and a cold breeze. "There was never an inn here," the officer said. "Just local legends. They say people used to go missing on this road in the 60s. Found their cars abandoned, no trace of the drivers." Aaron didn't reply. He just stared at the spot where room 13 had once been. Because deep in his pocket, he still had the old photo. And now, behind his image in the window, a new face had appeared, the old woman. Smiling. Waiting, and far off in the wind, if you listened closely, you could still hear the whisper, "You were late."